The EV adoption is here. The lithium prices continue pushing higher and higher, and ASX investors continue to search across the lithium sector for opportunities to get exposure to this clean energy transition that we're seeing unfold in front of our very eyes. I thought it was a good opportunity to do a deep dive and an update on the Lake Resources story. ASX LKE recently put out an announcement about a potential uplift in terms of production for their DFS that is due in 2022. Of course, investors get excited about potential increases in production, particularly with underlying commodity prices that are elevated, like we're seeing in the lithium sector currently. So today we'll dive into the LKE story, we'll talk about Lake Resources' recent news flow, where they're positioned, and what to watch in 2022 up ahead. If you do enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the like button, feel free to share it out, and if you're new here, make sure you've subscribed and turn your bell notifications on so you don't miss any of our daily episodes. I think before we dive into the Lake Resources story, makes sense for us to take that step back as we always do to think about the current context in the sector. As we know, the lithium sector has been running hot over this past period. We know that lithium-ion batteries are fundamental to this electric vehicle transition that we're seeing play out. Of course, for that context, the lithium market went through a boom cycle into 2018, before a bust in 2018 and 19, before it bottomed out in 2020. We got that price signal at the back end of 2020, and since then, as the EV adoption's picked up pace, demand continues to increase, we've seen prices move higher. But it's not only a demand-driven story, there's also been supply factors as well contributing to it. As we can see here for the lithium prices, of course, they dropped to lows in 2020. When prices are low, no supply is going to come online. The economics won't stack up, so projects are either put into care and maintenance, they're either put on hold until more robust pricing and economics come out of these projects, or they're delayed. And so as a result of that, there's not been much supply coming online over this past period. But now demand has continued to grow. Projects are trying to come online as quickly as possible to feed into this supply shortfall. However, at any forecast you look at, this supply shortfall looks likely to continue to expand into the middle of this decade. And this is why there's a lot of excitement about the opportunities for companies and projects that can come online over the next few years. And this is where a company like Lake Resources is attracting a lot of interest. So ASX LKE are developing their flagship Kachi Lithium Project. This is the project that they're focused on at this current time. We'll talk about where it's currently positioned, but it is worth noting that they have 4 lithium projects located within the Lithium Triangle, a real hotbed of lithium. There's a range of different projects already currently producing there, and many more that are looking to come online over the next few years. Lake Resources are leveraging Lilac Solutions' direct lithium extraction process. Of course, if we think about the state of the lithium market, conventionally there's traditionally been 2 methods that are mostly used, of course, on the spodumene or the hard rock extraction process where the lithium is mined with the ore, or on the other side there's the brine evaporation method. This is what's predominantly used currently in the Lithium Triangle. But Lake, as well as a number of other companies like Vulcan Energy Resources, are pioneering their own forms of direct lithium extraction, and this is what Lake Resources is leveraging. They've recently formalised their agreement with Lilac Solutions. There's now an earn-in where they can earn in up to 25% of the Kachi Lithium project. And of course, there was a prorated funding aspect of this deal as well. I think the final component to Lake Resources' offering is they are producing or aiming to produce an ESG-focused, high-purity battery-grade lithium carbonate product. Of course, we know how important high-purity product is, of course, for the manufacturers, but as we see this move towards a decarbonised society pick up, a low carbon emission focused product is going to become more and more important. This ESG edge is going to be critical when discussing potential offtakes as producers and manufacturers look to bring down their embodied energy. And this is where Lake Resources is hoping to feed into this opportunity. I'd love to know your thoughts on it all as well, so drop in a comment below what you think about Lake Resources, where you think they're positioned for 2022, and what you thought about the recent discussion surrounding lifting production to 50,000 TPA. And a reminder, before we dive in, as you guys know, I'm just a bloke on the internet who loves talking about the market. I'm definitely not a financial advisor, and none of the stocks we talk about are buy recommendations. These are all just general discussions to be that starting spot for you to do your own research from. And so then that brings us to the recent news flow from Lake Resources that they are looking to increase production to 50,000 tonnes per annum of lithium carbonate as the base case for their DFS. As we know, Lake Resources brought out an updated PFS over this past year. This, of course, had 25,000 tonnes per annum as their production, but there was thoughts and discussions about the fact that potentially there was an opportunity for a stage 2 and lifting up to 50,000 TPA. But they've announced with their upcoming DFS, which is currently due for the first half of 2022, that they're looking to increase their production to 50,000 TPA. But I think what's important here is this language surrounding base case. Of course, a base case means this is now the new baseline. This is what's going to be plugged into their numbers. It's not as if it's going to be a stage process where they build the initial and then look to add it on. We know that Lilac Solutions' process is also quite modular in nature, but here they're looking for the base case of 50,000 TPA. This is significant. If we think about the PFS that was updated previously, this had around about a $15,000 per tonne price for lithium. As we all know, over this past period, the prices have continued higher and higher. Lithium carbonate prices in and around that $40,000 mark as well. Of course, I don't think anybody's forecasting it to stay here over the long run, but any elevation above that 15,000 TPA, it'll be interesting to see what numbers are plugged in for the DFS. But of course, this provides real opportunities for uplift for a project that already had pretty robust economics just for the PFS. So you plug in higher underlying lithium price, of course, an increase in terms of tonnage now, and there's a lot of interest about what this DFS could bring moving forward as it is unveiled. But I do think that there was a second component to this recent announcement from Lake Resources that really attracted investor interest. And there were 4 key drivers that Lake Resources provided insight surrounding about why they thought it was appropriate to lift their base case to 50,000 tonnes per annum. I think a few of them are interesting for the broader lithium sector, and a couple are more Lake Resources specific. First and foremost, I think it's quite intuitive, but they of course have named the increasing demand by prospective offtake partners, who of course are interested in a secure supply of ESG-focused high-purity lithium carbonate that we've discussed. But then on the other side of it as well is their financing and funding. They have indicative support for funding. They had that indicative support at the 25,000 TPA level, but now there's the potential up to the 50,000. And so the fact that customers are interested, there's enough demand to fill out the 50,000 TPA in terms of prospective off-takers. But on the other side as well, there's funding agencies who are willing to, of course, after doing their due diligence, fund potentially and finance the project. That's very, very bullish for the opportunity for Kachi. On the other side as well, there's of course a governmental opportunity in terms of the supportive investment policies from the Argentine government. And on the other side as well, there's further confidence as well with Lilac Solutions' process. Of course, Lilac Solutions' process has not been tested at commercial scale yet for the development of lithium extraction. It's one that's been used for water extraction previously, but this opportunity has been de-risked somewhat with the earn-in focus from Lake Resources' deal that they've of course now formalised for Kachi with Lilac Solutions. There's a lot of excitement about what could be up ahead for Lake Resources. Of course, the demonstration plant is the next opportunity to further test this at a broader scale, much larger than the pilot plant, so all eyes will be on this moving forward. As we talked about, Kachi is at the forefront of investors and the team at Lake Resources' mind at the moment, but there is further opportunities as well with some of their other projects. Currently, drilling is underway to potentially double lithium production, which of course investors will be waiting for confirmation for. But there is a second component to this resource drilling too. There is that potential opportunity in terms of a JORC resource upgrade, potentially turning some of those inferred resources into indicated, and so investors will be watching for this. And then on the other side of the coin as well, in terms of the 3 other projects, there's a new 10-hole drilling program underway, and I think investors are going to be most excited to see, of course, any indication about potential resources there, but also insights about what the future of Lake Resources could mean further than just Kachi. Kachi, of course, in its own right, has the opportunity to be globally significant. If we think about 50,000 tonnes per annum, if we think about global lithium carbonate production over this past period, potentially 400, 500,000 tonnes globally, so 50,000 tonnes is already going to be globally significant at that level. Of course, bearing in mind the fact that production is going to continue to increase year in and year out, so by the time Kachi comes online, it will make up a smaller proportion of total global production. But if 50,000 TPA can come online and then some other projects or one of the other projects has some opportunities to come online as well, this really does feed into Lake Resources' focus to eventually become a top 5 global lithium producer. And so next steps from here. Of course, they've got the potential resource there. They've got the technology now locked in, and they're able to start to demonstrate that at further scale. They're now working towards those final approvals and ticking off that DFS. So they are working towards their ESIA as well, the Environmental and Social Impact Assessment. Along with that too, as mentioned, first half of 2022, the DFS will be complete. Pending success on both of those fronts, they're able to finalise their financing and move towards that final investment decision. After a capital raise as well, they're fully funded all the way through to FID. And then obviously, with success on that front, getting the demonstration plant underway, moving towards construction, and then ultimately production. And so things do look like they're set up for a pretty interesting 2022 up ahead for Lake Resources. As mentioned, there's a lot of potential catalysts. Of course, the EV battery material space and the lithium sector continues to have strength and tailwinds behind it. This EV adoption is not slowing down. So investors will be looking towards LKE for the next steps in the journey. Keen to know your thoughts on it all as well, so drop in a comment. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button. Feel free to share it out. If you're new here, welcome. We make a daily video each and every day, so make sure you've subscribed, turn your bell notifications on, and hope you've had a great start to the year as well. It's going to be an exciting one. We'll be here unpacking it all. Thank you so much for joining us. For now, stay well and happy investing.